I would like to, if you can be more specific about the future, the clean future, solutions for the water problem in Cuba. Thanks.
Well, my reference was more to look into a very low-cost solution for the infrastructure. And I'll give you an example for rural areas. Instead of building an extensive roads, wide roads, because this is very tempting to look at the United States and decide, okay, we need to build exactly the same road system. And also we need to develop, to provide developments to an entire region. These developments have to be much better, have to be focused in a very, in much less area, which will also allow the development to operate in a much more efficient way, because they will not require an extensive linear infrastructure such as pipelines, electric lines. So I think this is very essential. In terms of the hydrology, there are multiple simple ways that can be implemented into the development. For example, rain gardens, different depressions within the development, which will actually retain water, and as opposed to have an impervious area that will tend to just to provide much more runoff. So these are, again, very low-cost solutions that have to be taken into consideration.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
More than a question is a comment and of something that was brought up by Eduardo and then also stressed by John, and that is the issue about the individual payment for services in the water sector, and this is, it's overlooked, but it is a major issue, and I would like to share with you a similar situation that we have, because we are developing a water project in the Republic of Georgia. Now, the Republic of Georgia, as you know, with the fall of the Soviet system, became an independent country. One of the issues that we're doing now is developing water management plans. After a whole process of assessment, participatory process, etc. And in developing that plan, one of the issues that really, has to be brought up and paid a lot of attention is the water culture. Because in the water culture of the system, the socialist system, water is a right. And today the United Nations had said so, but the concept is quite different. It's something that you get, you use, and that's it. But despite the fact that there's an awareness that the water has to be preserved, water has to be conserved, this is a little bit of the abstract. When it comes to, okay, I have to pay a fee for the service, it really becomes an issue. And so, so that's one aspect, the cultural, social aspect of paying for water services, especially for drinking water. The second aspect is an infrastructure aspect, and that is there are no houses have a meter. And introducing, building up the meters into individual houses, it's kind of, expensive, but building up meters in buildings is a nightmare. So when you're developing this water management and water resources management plans, and you come to this issue, it's kind of like, a total new situation, which is basically not conceptualized in integrated water resources management per se. But that is crucial in order to obtain what John and Eduardo brought up, that there needs to be a payment for the service so that this system could be sustainable. So if I just want to bring this up because we decide to continue this discussions ad hoc as a group with the Institute, the Engineer Society, ARC, us. I think that this is a key element that we cannot, not consider. Otherwise, all of these 6 million that were, I think he left, that he was referring to, that needs to be put into the system. If you add the meter, that's a couple of millions more.
One last question.
Okay, go ahead.
For Dr. Eric Fuentes. You talk about the charter about the contamination. It was too long, so that's the reason I'm here actually. But back in 1999, as a member of NAPUPAS, the environmental group in Cuba, Natural Peace for English speakers, I had the opportunity to sue the government. Actually, I brought a demand against Castro because he built an international airport in the North Cape, Cayo is a small key north of Camagüey, actually, of Ciego de Ávila, I'm sorry. Because he violated actually a Cuban law that was made after the revolution. And he was talking about the last two laws, that environmental laws made in Cuba. How you consider in the future, how will it be improved the situation of water if the Cuban government will be able to actually obey its own laws regarding environmental issues?
I couldn't understand the question.
Okay.
If you could repeat.
Yes, I had the opportunity back in 1999 to sue the government because they built this international airport against their own Cuban laws, you know. How you consider the future, the water future in Cuba will be improved if the Cuban government finally will obey its own, environmental laws?
Oh,
All right.
okay. I guess you're asking me about my reading of the two laws of environmental protection.
Yes.
Which is 181 and one in 1997. That's what I identified. But I think the one in 1997 make a tremendous jump from the 1981 in terms of involving concepts, ambitions, as many of the laws in other countries that I have worked with. For instance, through some of the articles directly addressing the concept of sustainability, which was not there. So I think it's sort of a very tune-up to what other countries have been already implemented for decades, to a certain extent. We look at Costa Rica or Chile, Colombia. So in that sense, if they do what they are allowing, then of course benefits should come for all these different sectors and topics that we're talking about. That law, for instance, repeats, but with much more intense level of detail, the aspect of environmental impact, which is a key instrument, well established here in our system. Well, if that is done, as it is happening in many other countries, here in our hemisphere, then things should start working out in terms of water quality particularly, which is a major topic that we didn't have the chance to talk about. That's crucial. But in order to sort of address some of the questions that you asked, Dr. Tachi, in terms of the simplest steps that I see from the perspective of catchment areas, watersheds being the unit of surface water management, or hydrogeologic unit for the groundwater environment. Two things that are important in terms of both water quantity and water quality, which doesn't cost much money compared to other budgets that go into looking at infrastructure and things like that, and that is prevention. If you can prevent at the source, as I read was that there are more than 2,000 sources of contamination reported, at least based on some kind of diagnostics inventory conducted by somebody there. 2,000, it's over the entire island. If you're looking at chromium, if you're looking at a bunch of very nasty stuff that may be connected to mining, you have a big issue. Once that gets out of the source, there is a multiplier effect in terms of the impacts and the cost of remediation, depending on how much, et cetera, et cetera. So prevention is extremely important in the area of water quality. Now, in terms of enhancing and securing, out of that hydrology, the rainfall, the precipitation that takes place over the entire area of the island, or any catchment basin whatsoever. Making sure that, for instance, the recharge areas are there, that there is no deforestation. If there is deforestation because of mining or who knows what else, that is taken care of, because then you will secure the sustainability of the system right at the source. So the best investment is really prevention within the concept of looking at quantity and quality. One interesting issue that, I mean, my own work, you know, looking at all the numbers that I shared with you there, you know, I was just thinking about, you know, the percentage of the population which is served by a sewer that goes in front of the house, and I figure they are referring to the community, the large cities, which are pretty much the ones that should expect to have alcantarillado, you know, the sewer system. But the percentage is extremely low by all standards, because every community should have an alcantarillado sewer system, you know, somehow. That's the fundamental aspect of getting what Dr. Prony was referring to, the waste away from the human body. But then you compare how is that the rest of the population, the unserved population, dispose of the sewage. It is through typically some kind of septic tank system, maybe a latrine, you know, and what kind of technology, we will have to talk about that in another dialogue. But if we're looking at those figures, you have to think that a septic tank of any kind, at least based on our own records in this country, and I include the Keys, and here, daily on plantation, typically those systems operate very ineffectively. But BODs, suspended solids, and other things, if any of you are familiar with those indicators of contamination. What happens is that then the impact on the groundwater is tremendous. I mean, we're talking about an issue that in terms of groundwater, just like what is going on in the Keys too, there's no difference. Just as the technologies here are better designed, better operated, better maintained, and so on and so forth. So the impact on the groundwater system, particularly in a coastal plain, I can see from those figures is there. So, well beyond many details that we can converse about, but my comment is prevention for both water quantity and quality within the right context of legislation and application are definitely the less expensive answers.
I'd like to add something to your question. Your question was directed related to the future in the Cuban government and how they obey the laws. Well, it's not unknown for anyone in this audience and around the world that they have a totalitarian government. And the last saying, whatever they do, regardless of how they disseminate the information, how they maintain, and they're proactively teaching the people how to act in reference to water or any other infrastructure, is going to be their last saying. And if they don't obey any human rights, how can they obey anything about environment or environmental laws? So in my opinion, and the opinion of many people around the world that are experts on environmental issues, laws and regulations are not followed by the existing Cuban government. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that please stay tuned to the Cuban Research Institute and future programs. I am delighted to see how we have progressed and FIU continues to progress on these sources. And on behalf of the Cuban American Association of Civil Engineers and the Cuban engineers, I'd like to send everyone this distinguished banner, the distinguished audience. Say thank you to those students here from the University of Miami, our sister university, that would also be conducting a research paper on water, on Cuban infrastructure, and everyone in the audience is invited to attend. This will take place at Casa Bacardi on February 22nd, celebrating the culmination of the American Engineer Week of 2014. Again, I thank everyone for being part of this special day, and I hope to see a continuation of these infrastructure workshops furthermore with the Cuban Research Institute. Thank you.